Welcome, everybody. Hello. Welcome to another Thursday talk. And today's subject is eliminating self-doubt. And you have no better speaker than Sister Judy to be able to guide you through this. If y'all aren't already on camera, I know Sister Judy loves to be able to see your faces so that we can actually be like we're talking, interacting. And also, we have a workshop that's coming up on Saturday, on May 21st. It is a workshop on forgiveness and freedom. So, if you want to have a little bit more of an interactive session, please join. So, most of you have been to our Thursday talk series. There have been just tons and tons of programs, not just the Thursday talks, but we also have live meditation twice a day. So Monday through Friday, we have Power Boost at noon, and then we have the Good Night meditation that is happening at 8 o'clock Monday through Saturday and 7:30 on Sundays. But then also look at the websites for Peace Village as well as Manhattan Meditation Center. They have so many classes, and I know that there's a little bit of a uptick in COVID, but that doesn't mean that the Zoom sessions are going down at all. So feel free to join in on any of those sessions and check out the websites. But wanted to welcome everybody, especially those that are here on Zoom live and everybody that is on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for joining us. And I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Sister Judy so she can take over. And if you don't already have your mics muted, go ahead and do so. And then if you need to ask a question, you're more than welcome to unmute at that time. So let me turn this over to Sister Judy.
Thank you, Suja. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Holding up okay? Good. That's, I'm touched by how much support you get from the center. They'll boost you at noon. They'll put you to sleep at night. I mean, this is pretty sweet treatment. So I'm happy to be with you again. Yes. Yes.
I think that was an accidental unmute.
Okay. All right. So we're going to, I'm going to switch the topic a little bit. That's all right with you. We will talk about doubt, but I want to talk about faith, right? Because these two things go together. Faith and doubt are two distinct energies, but they're very connected with one another. So I'm going to talk about them together, and I'm going to invite you to ask questions whenever you want. It's nice to see some old friends. It's nice to see some new faces, and you should feel free to ask questions in the middle if you want. Put something in the chat, and I'll kind of watch for that. So we're talking about two pretty subtle energies here. So the energy of faith.
And I'm looking for relationship advice with my girlfriend. Am I in the wrong spot?
Probably. You probably are, I'm guessing. Yeah. So the energy of faith. Faith is an energy that actually uplifts you. It makes you kind of soar. When you're in a state of faith, you actually kind of feel like you're flying, or you're very light. A lot of things seem possible. And I'm not just talking about faith in the self, although that's part of it, but faith in a lot of things. And I would suggest that those who can have one kind of faith tend to be able to have other kinds of faith as well. So faith in the self, faith in what's happening in the world, not the world, but your own unfolding of your world, faith in God, faith in all kinds of things. So faith is its own energy, and doubt is also its own energy. Now, doubt is an energy that kind of brings you to a halt. You're kind of grounded. Whereas with faith, you're flying. With doubt, you're sort of walking, right? There's an energy of hesitation in doubt. Doubt's a little bit, I sometimes think of doubt as a little bit like a worm. It kind of eats things up, eats up your faith. So faith and doubt. One reason that we sometimes develop doubt is because we have had faith in the wrong things. So, if we have had faith in things that are changing all the time, and things that are material, and things that are connected with the world, chances are we've been disappointed. If we had faith in the stock market, if we had faith in a certain political leader, if we had faith in various and sundry people who told us they were going to do this or that for us, if we had faith in institutions, if we had faith in our financial advisor or the stock market or whatever, we may have been really disappointed, right? And we may have developed then some doubt. So I'm not talking about that kind of faith. I'm talking about faith in things that are eternal, things that don't fluctuate and go away. So I'm going to talk about three kinds. One of them is faith in yourself, which is sort of tonight's topic. One of them is faith in the source or God or whatever that is for you. And one of them is the faith in the unfolding of life that I'm going to call the drama. Now, I can imagine you might have some good questions about that, but I'm going to offer to you the idea that actually faith in all three of these works really well for you. So let's talk about faith in the self. So for you to have faith in yourself, you have to know who you are. Because there's two parts of you, right? You're an eternal being inside of a material body. And so the self I'm talking about is the eternal self, the inner self. It's got all kinds of names. One of them is soul, but there's a lot true self, high self. I mean, people have many references for this, but this is the eternal part of you. It's the part that came into a body in this birth and that will leave this body when you're finished with the body. That's what I'm talking about, that self. And that self, there's a few things to know about that self. I think you know them already, but just in case. So that self is eternal. It is light consciousness, and it is fundamentally, in its original state, pure and good. So that self, when it's in the body and in the material world, can get confused, can make bad choices, and can lose confidence. And so when you think about having faith in the self, I want you to think about the lasting self, the true self, and not the one, not the embodied self that makes mistakes. All right, because they're a little bit different. They're actually a little bit different, and I think we'll cover that territory tonight. So that's the first kind of faith, and that's the one that's our topic. And I'm going to come back around to why I think you can trust that self. Then there's faith in the source. Now, I know some people have a lot of trouble with this concept of God or the source or the divine, and I can totally understand that. But I'm going to suggest to you that actually there is a source of life in the universe. and that it is pure consciousness, doesn't ever take a body, has no form and matter, and is pure virtue, pure goodness. And that this is actually your oldest relationship, that you do know this one. You've known this one forever, you might say. So faith in that, faith that there is a good, virtuous, powerful source of life at work in the universe. And I also, I'm going to propose to you that that source is not omnipresent. Life is omnipresent, but the source I'm talking about, God, is not omnipresent. This is a still point, you might call it, in the universe. So faith in that, and then faith in the unfolding of life. And I'm going to call this the drama. Now, to have faith in this, you have to understand a little bit about karma philosophy. How many of you are pretty familiar with karma philosophy? Pretty sure you understand. Okay, all right. So some of you are, some of you aren't. So let me say a little word about it. So karma is the karma philosophy. Karma just means action in Hindi, right? Just plain, the word is just action. But the philosophy of karma suggests that for every action we take, we get the return of that action in the same measure and at the same level of quality. Now, that can sometimes be construed as punishment. Some people talk about bad karma, right? You're getting beat up because you did something wrong. But actually, what it is that the karma philosophy says that we are always returning to our original goodness. So if we veered off course and we did something that was off the mark for our true self, then the return of that karma is intended to bring you back on course. It may hurt a little, it may be, you may run out of money or have a bad relationship or whatever. But from the perspective of the soul, the true self, it's actually benevolent. It's actually beneficial. And most of the time, if you look back in your life at something that just seemed dreadful at the time, you look back at it with a different perspective, and often, I would say maybe always, it brought you to where you are now. It taught you some lesson. It got you out of a certain situation. It did something that brought you benefit and brought you to where you are now. So when something shows up in front of you and it's not the thing you wanted, you're going to lose your job or you're going to something. Often, if you just accept it and wait it out, the return of that is really beneficial. You start your own business, you're free to move, something. So the places to place your faith then are in these eternal things, in the true self, in the source, and in this unfolding of life. Okay? So you're going to have faith in each of those things, and those aspects of faith make you bring you benefit. Now, I would say there's certain rules for faith, and this might get into how do you get out of self-doubt. So, I think one way we get into doubt is if we made a mistake, or maybe we made a really big mistake, or sometimes someone just told us we weren't worthy. Some people grew up with someone who just told them they weren't any good, or they're married to someone who cuts them down or whatever. So that can also be a source of doubt. That somehow I've been told this and I somehow believed it. So either I made big mistakes, or people have told me, someone has told me, someone I trusted told me that I wasn't worthy. And we believed that. So I'm going to tell you now, don't believe that. That's not true. You are lovely, you are worthy, and no matter what mistake you made, you can be forgiven for that. Right? You believe that? You are lovely, you are worthy, and there's nothing you've done that you can't be forgiven for. Nothing. So that ability to hold on to that vision of yourself is really important. Now, I think there's 3 rules for faith. Rule number 1, have determination. This is a great quality, determination. Someone who you live with might call it stubbornness, but you don't believe them. It's not stubbornness, it's determination. This is you saying, I know what I want. I know what's important here, and I am holding on to this vision. Determination. Faith that I can do this, faith that I can be a good parent, faith that I'm going to make it through this difficult time, faith in, this kind of persistence. That's a really important rule if you're going to have faith. So that kind of determination. You have to keep promises you make to yourself. Sometimes we tell ourselves we're going to do something. We're going to stop letting bad people in our lives. We're going to stop. We're going to go on a diet. We're going to take a course. We're going to meditate every morning. We're going to whatever, right? We make all these promises to ourselves, and then sometimes we don't do them. So then you begin to lose faith in yourself, right? Because you think, well, I've said that before. Like today I talked to my doctor and she said, you really should be lifting heavy weights. She said, would you do that? And I said, no, I've tried that many times. I'll never lift heavy weights. I don't want to do that because there's no point. But if I had said, okay, this time I'm going to lift heavy weights, then I would have to keep that promise. Because that's when we let ourselves down, that's when we lose faith. If someone's quit drinking 1,000 times, but they then pick it up again. Someone's tried to lose weight, but then they start eating again. Someone's, promised that they're going to get up every morning and meditate, but they can't do it. Whatever these promises are, we make them, but we don't have the determination, right? So you've got to have rule number 1 in order to do rule number 2. And it's really important to keep promises to yourself. It's also important to keep promises to others because that's what makes them trust you, right? Is that you show up. If you say you're going to show up, you show up. But some people keep promises to other people, but don't keep the promise to themselves. Do you know that syndrome? Where you'll show up for everybody else, but when it's time to show up for yourself, you don't do it. You can't do that. You have to stop that habit. And then the final 3rd rule is you really have to believe in the power of thought. Now, this is very important because we're in the habit of letting our minds wander. You know what I mean? We're in the habit of letting the mind just wanders off. It hears something and it goes off and it plays a scene from yesterday or plays a scene from last week or thinks about someone in your life and worries about them and thinks what you'll say to them, rehearses the little script, or thinks about tomorrow and what you're going to do. And then you realize you've just squandered like 20 minutes with this wandering mind. And each thought is really powerful when you use them that way. There's a lot that you can do with a powerful thought. And we generally, I would say most of us aren't using that power. We don't even see it. It's not just that we're not using it, we don't even see it. So I'm going to propose to you that one of the most important things you can do is really first believe in the power of a pure, powerful thought, and then use that. There's a lot of ways to think about that. For example, when your grandmother used to make you soup when you were sick, now not everyone had one of those grandmothers, but if you had one of those, why did you get well? Did you get well because she was a great cook? No, she might have been a terrible cook. You got well because while she was making that soup, she was thinking of you. She wanted you to be well. She loved you. So she made this for you and she served it to you with love. And then she sat there with love while you ate it. That loving thought made you well. You can hold a powerful, pure thought and then think of someone, and your powerful, pure thought will go to that one. I'll tell you a little story. So I have a good friend whose son has gotten a scary diagnosis, and the son is young. He's a young guy. He's in his, like 30s. So everybody who loves him is very worried. And one of the people who loves him is his aunt. So I spoke with her yesterday, and she is a person of faith. And she said, I have been praying. And I said, well, what are you praying for? And she said, well, I'm praying for him to get well. I said, okay. She said, I want him to get completely well. And I said, okay. And what state are you in? She said, well, I'm really worried. I'm really worried because this is really serious and he's really a young guy and he's really a special guy. He's not like everybody else. And went on like that. So I said, okay, so you're pretty close to this guy, right? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, so when you are holding thoughts of worry and thinking about him, what do you think he's getting from you? He's getting worry. Because you're holding a strong thought of worry and you're thinking of him. Does he need your worry? She happens to be a nurse. I said, you're a nurse. Do people get well better when they're anxious? She said, well, no. And I said, okay. So what does he need from you in order to get through this? So I said, let's think about it. One thing that he needs is peace. Right? He needs to be able to get quiet. He needs to be able to sleep. He needs to not be worried. Right? He needs that ability to calm his mind and calm his body. And so does his mom, and so does his dad, and so does his sister and his girlfriend and you. You all need to be peaceful. This isn't like a bad afternoon. You're looking at a year here. You're looking at a marathon. So when you become peaceful, completely peaceful, and then have the thought of this one who you love so much, he will experience peace. He won't know it's from you, but the soul will experience peace because we are vibrational beings, right? The self is conscient energy. So the thought in the mind of the self carries a vibration and creates a vibrational field. What else does he need? He needs courage, right? He needs a lot of courage. So do all of you. It's going to be a little bit hard, No, he's going to have to go through chemo. He's going to be sitting in hospitals. It's going to be hard. So he needs real courage. He needs real fortitude. So hold the state of courage and send that to the soul. And then I did a little experiment with her. I said, okay, so let's hold that state. Invoke courage from within yourself. And now have the thought of that soul and let it go to him. What else does he need? He needs acceptance. He's got to accept this is the moment I'm in, right? For whatever reason, I'm here in this moment. And so let me accept this and just move forward. Now, you could say he needs a lot of other things too, right? He needs love, he needs mercy, he needs compassion. You can pick anything that the soul needs. But I'm talking here about the power of thought. We waste so much time worrying and being afraid and being sad and being jealous and being all of those things that just take us nowhere. And every one of those thoughts creates a field. So if we're allowing ourselves inside to have those things, then we are just a little traveling weather front of fear and doubt and nervousness and worry and all of that. So what do you think our bodies feel when we're having those feelings? What's your heart feel? What's your stomach feel? Right? What happens when you lie down to go to sleep at night? Right? All that whole field that you've been generating during the day is sitting in the body. What happens when you walk in a room? You walk in a room, you are a little weather front of fear, worry, and anxiety, and people in the room look up. What's with you? All right. And when you walk out the door and you move onto the sidewalk and you walk into your friend's home, etc., you are carrying with you that field of those energies that you are creating through your thoughts. So we talked about the fact, she said, I didn't think I could do anything for him. Of course you can do things for him. I mean, you're being this close to him, everything you think is going to go to the soul. So choose what state you want to be in, right? You've got to be able to notice the thoughts that you're having. Now, there's different kinds of thoughts. There are negative thoughts, which I've just been talking with you about, right? Fear and anxiety and jealousy and worry and all of that. There are ordinary thoughts, just kind of the rolling around of the mind, your schedule, the bus schedule, what's on the radio, what's on television, what am I going to wear, blah, 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 right? Just running. I would say the negative thoughts obviously create a kind of a heavy field. The ordinary thoughts kind of just jumbled. Then there are positive thoughts. And that's what I was talking with her about, right? Patience is a powerful thought. Peace is a powerful thought. Courage is, these are positive and powerful thoughts. Courage, acceptance, love, compassion, mercy, kindness, all of those are positive thoughts, which means they're a higher frequency. And as we think them, we are in service right in that moment. That is service. If you never go to a soup kitchen or write a check for the Ukraine or serve Sunday night dinner at your church or whatever, that is service. Your ability to hold your mind in that positive consciousness. Now there is a kind of thought that is higher than a positive thought, and it is called an elevated thought. So the positive thoughts tend to be in the realm of virtue. Or if you think like a psychologist, in the realm of positive emotions, joy, contentment, awe, gratitude, etc. Elevated thoughts are when you are in that realm of who you are as the true self, that eternal, good, powerful being that you are, and who you belong to. Who is the supreme? Who is the divine? Who is your true parent? Which for a lot of people, that's a bridge too far. No problem. If it doesn't work for you, just set it aside. But I'm just reassuring you that it's a very powerful presence, and that when you are able to make that contact, it will change everything. Everything. So negative, ordinary, positive, and elevated. Now, what do you do if you find that you are having the wrong kind of thoughts? I mean, it could happen, right? Could happen that you're having the wrong kind of thoughts. Could happen that your mind is running away from you and going in the wrong direction. There's a lot of things going on in the world that are making us upset. So I'm just going to think with you about this. So if you're going to stay in a state of faith, if you're going to stay in a state where you are serving with your thoughts, you have to do a couple things. One, you have to develop a habit of watching your mind, right? You have to notice what's going on with your mind. And that's a little tricky because most of us are kind of just going along, thinking thoughts and seeing things. And sometimes we're in yoga with our phones. You know, every little beep, we grab our phone and look at it and text back to somebody. And so when we're doing that, we are probably not noticing our thoughts. So that's the first thing. You really have to notice your thoughts. And I'm going to come back around to the role of meditation in that, but that's one thing. Then you have to be able to put a full stop to the wrong thoughts. Do you know that term? Full stop? This is a spiritual practice. It's like when you hit the stop button on an audio device. You've been listening to a podcast and you stop it, right? You can stop your mind just like you can stop a podcast. Because what happens in the mind is playing lots of little movies. There's the movie about why did my daughter do what she did? There's the movie about that wasn't fair when the boss did the such and such. There's the movie about, I wonder if I'm going to be able to get that vacation going with the family this summer, or if that's not going to work. There's the movie about, I wonder if I should get everybody together and watch a movie tonight. There's the movie about, you know, my mother really shouldn't have treated me that way. There's thousands of these movies in our minds, and they're all teed up. And on the slightest, with the slightest invitation, they start playing. And we are used to letting the movie play all the way to the end, right? We let the movie play all the way to the end. We may have watched that movie 100 times or 1,000 times, but we play it again. So once again, we watch how bad our mother was. Once again, we give the little lecture to our child, what we wish they would do, right? We do it over and over and over again. So when you get used to watching your mind, you say, wait a minute, I don't want to watch this little movie again. It's an ordinary or a negative thought. So you full stop. You stop the movie. Now, when you do that, what does your mind do? Starts it up again, right? Immediately it starts playing the movie again. Now you have to stop the movie again. And the mind will do it a third time. And it might do it a fourth time. This is where determination comes in. If you really want to elevate your thought, you keep hitting that stop until the mind stops playing the movie. Now, if you get in the habit of this, you will find that you can choose the thoughts in your mind. That the mind just won't keep giving you these same movies over and over. It will stop, but you have to be consistent. Because if you sometimes stop it and sometimes don't, the mind will think, well, maybe she wants to see the movie this time, and it'll start it again. So you have to be really determined to stop that movie every time it plays. If you do that, now you've got a chance to choose the channel that you're playing. So you take it up a notch, right? Take it up a notch. Think of someone you want to serve in that moment, someone who's having a bad era. It could be a country that's having a bad era. It could be a family friend. It could be a child. It could be anything. Have the thought, let me send love to that one, or whatever, right? Hold that thought, embody that thought and feeling, and then allow your mind to go there. Your mind will actually prefer this to the little movies, but you have to train it just like you would train your family dog, right? And mind is a little bit like the family dog. So you've got to get used to making that choice, noticing what's going on, deciding if I don't want this, to stop it, and choosing what you are gonna watch. And then once that happens, now what's going on inside of you, right? Now what's inside the body? Not worry, not fear, not anxiety, not jealousy. Now you've filled yourself with love. The heart's filled with love. The mind's filled with love. The eyes, the stomach, the cells are filled with love. The atmosphere around you is filled with love. You walk into the next room, you're completely loving because you have embodied the thought and the feeling that you chose. Now, this takes spiritual power. Just like the doctor wanted me to use the heavy weights, and I said no, but if I had said yes, I would become physically powerful. Well, it's the same for you with this practice. If you do this, I promise you, you will become spiritually powerful. You will build spiritual capacity. What does it mean to be spiritually powerful? Let's go back to my friend who was so worried. It would mean that she would be able to hold a very powerful thought of healing or peace or love or courage for the young guy she's thinking about, and she'd be able to sustain it over time for 10 minutes, for a half hour, for an hour, for a day, eventually, whenever she wanted. Other thoughts wouldn't interrupt. The little movies wouldn't play. Or if a little movie came up, she'd stop it and reset. That's what spiritual power is. When you look at spiritually powerful people, that's what they're doing. They're using their mind and their kind of higher intellect and their heart all in the same direction. They don't allow doubt in. They don't allow those other things in. If you allow it in, then you have to get it out. So the higher state is don't even allow it in. If you see it coming towards you, full stop. Full stop. Now, this is what your meditation practice can do for you. This is why we meditate. I mean, there's lots of reasons to meditate, right? I mean, you can meditate because you want to go to sleep. You can meditate because you want to, get over your bad anger habit. You can meditate for any reason. I mean, you can become just more aware. All of those are good reasons to meditate. But I would submit to you that the highest aspiration of your meditation is to transform the self, to become a higher being, a spiritually powerful being, right? That's really what you want. Then you're working with states of mastery. Then you're able to choose the state you're in. Choose the thoughts you're having. Not be derailed by someone in your life who's completely annoying. To have mercy for them. Not react. To be able to look at it and say, okay, that's the way this one is, but it's all right. That's all right. I'm going to stay in this state of contentment. I've got my own track here. That's what your aim is with your meditation practice. So I'm hoping that all of you have a daily meditation practice. Yeah? Daily? Not yet? Almost on your way? All right, so let me just talk about that for a minute. Some people meditate when they're having a good day. I'm having a good day, I've got an extra 10 minutes, why don't I meditate? But when they're having a bad day, they don't meditate. Then there's the other group who meditates only on bad days. Oh my God, I really need to meditate, right? I'm going to sit down now and meditate. But the thing is, if you only meditate when you're having bad days, it's harder to be successful, right? Because you're rattled. You're sitting down because you're already upset. And if you only meditate on good days, then how are you applying your meditation practice to the improvement of your life? How are you using it to move you out of states of doubt or sorrow or fear? There is a huge difference when you move from an occasional meditation practice to a daily practice. Huge. I cannot overstate this. It will be the nicest, kindest thing you've done to yourself if you will say, okay, every morning I'm going to get up just a little bit earlier. Morning's your best time. Not everybody does morning. If you can't, you can't. But for most people, before the world starts getting crazy, before everything's going up, when your mind is fresh from, getting up from sleeping, if you can take your time then, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. Just start by just creating a little space for yourself. Now, what are you doing in that 10 minutes or 15 minutes? You are becoming used to turning away from the world. So many people start out their day and they're already on the way out the door, right? They got the coffee, they're already listening to something, they're calling out to people. No, you don't want to do that when you first get up. That's not kind to the mind. So back yourself up, get up just a bit earlier than everyone else. If you want to have a little cup of tea, cup of coffee, no problem. Sit down someplace that you can make quiet. Give yourself something to look at, a candle or an image of some sort. Maybe you read something a little bit inspirational, a line or two. Now sit and turn your mind inside. Inside. Away from the world of politics and headlines and advertisements and agendas and schedules and phone calls. Put all that aside. Turn your mind inside to the world of thoughts and feelings and memories and hopes. All of that, right? Turn yourself inside. Now you are able to notice what's going on inside. Is your heart filled with sorrow? Is it clenched in fear? Is your mind racing with yesterday's news? Right? Now that you're able to turn inside, you can see what's going on with you. And then you can begin to stabilize your mind. You can create a quiet place for yourself. You can invoke your natural qualities. Peace belongs to the soul. You were born peaceful. Love belongs to the soul. You were born loving. Babies aren't born angry and jealous, right? I mean, if you've ever seen one, the reason we kiss their faces off is because they're so lovely, right? They're loving and peaceful and contented. That was you. That is you. That's still there. It's not gone. It's been covered up, but it's not gone. So when you sit in meditation, you are invoking this state that will serve the true self. And you're stabilizing yourself in that state. Other things will come in when you first start because you're not used to sitting. So things will come in, right? And what do you do when they come in? Put the full stop, send them out the door, reset, right? I am peace. Not I am peaceful. I am peace. I am love. I am joy. And as you hold these states, the mind will begin to embody those states. You will feel that you are those states. And when you're filled with that, then you can share that out. That's service. It's called mansa seva, serving with the mind. Now, it's a big dose. I'm going to give you one more dose, and then I'll ask you what you want to talk about. So there's one other thing you do in your meditation, which is once you are there, once you have stabilized, you are the point of light behind the eyes, you are peace, you've quieted yourself down. From that place, you can make contact with the source, with the divine, with God. This is different from calling out to God in the consciousness of my body and my personality. If I, Judy, call out to God and say, God, I'm having a really bad day, I really need your help, I will feel some comfort, but I won't actually get the power that I get when I am in the consciousness of being light conscious, light energy. When I'm the soul, when I'm sitting here and then I make that contact, like to like, same form, light to light. So when I make that connection and I'm holding love, what comes to me is infinite love. I'm holding peace. What comes to me is absolute, imperturbable, deep, profound peace beyond what I can remember. I hold joy. What comes to me is absolute joy, right? Because that is the source that renews the souls. So that's the ultimate in your meditation. You don't have to start there. Why don't you start by meditating every day? Start by carving out some time in the morning, knowing that what you're trying to develop is spiritual capacity. Spiritual capacity, the capacity to hold a powerful thought, the capacity to end a negative thought, the capacity to serve others with that stage. That is another way of saying the capacity to transform the self. This is the only true transformation that takes place. You can change your address, you can change your clothes, you can change your hair color, your haircut, your neighborhood, your affiliations, but none of that changes you. The only thing that really changes you is when the soul connects with its parent and begins to invoke those original qualities again. And you can tell it within, if you start meditating every day, people will start commenting to you within 2 weeks. What's with you? What's going on with you? There's something different with you. People will notice. You will notice. It doesn't take months and months and months. It's not like you have to stay at it for years to see any change. No. You will see a change almost immediately. So I've been rattling on for a long time. Let me see where we are here. If we've got anything in the chat we need. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So there's nothing here we need to respond to except Suja, you'll need to respond. But what's up for you as you sit with this? What's in your heart? We have a couple minutes here before we close. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Feeling very quiet. Do you want to just meditate and end? Would you rather just do that? All right, no problem. Okay, wait, there's something here from Wendy. All right, so from Irina, can we change someone positively through positive thinking and meditation? We can never change anyone else. That's just the sad truth. We can only change ourselves. But we can hope that if we change ourselves, that they'll be inspired. But we can't really change anyone else. Okay, you'll begin tomorrow, Wendy. That's great. Great, Natalie. Okay, so let's do a little meditation together, right? So I want you to sit comfortably. Either your feet are on the floor or your feet are kind of folded under you, right? Either one of those are okay. Your neck should be above your spine because we're talking about the movement of energy. You might want to lower the lights. You don't have to. If your lights are okay, that's fine. But you can if you want. I meditate with my eyes open. It's very convenient. That lets me meditate on subways and business meetings. But you can also close your eyes if you want. So take a couple of deep breaths and just invite your body to become quiet. And have the pure intention that for just a few minutes, you're going to set aside all the craziness of the outside world. What everyone wants from you, the noise, the list, your schedule. Set all that aside for a few minutes. It'll all wait. And turn your attention inside. And locate yourself in a little seat behind the eyes in the center of the forehead. And if you're not used to doing this, it might take you a minute to find a place. But imagine that you're the point of light behind the eyes. You become quiet. Allow the mind to become quiet. And as the mind quiets, you'll notice the breath. Just think that this breath is traveling in and out, keeping cadence with your life, your whole life. So just with your quiet mind, notice your breath. And now invite your mind to become still. So your thoughts should be very slow. And now ask your mind to be silent and give to the mind one thought, one feeling, and allow your mind to become absorbed in that thought or feeling. And maybe together we'll use the thought of unconditional, unlimited love. The kind of love that just wells up inside. Not love for a certain person, just love. The kind of love that comes with kindness. So hold the thought, I am love. And if any other thought comes in, put a full stop to the thought and bring back the thought of love. And notice as you hold this experience, this inner experience of love, you can feel the mind soften and the heart become quiet and happy. And allow love to travel with your breath. I am completely loving. And then notice how these currents of love, these vibrations of love, are moving out beyond you, beyond the body. They're creating kind of a field around you. You feel the room you're in. Love moves beyond the room you're in, out into the world. And it naturally goes to every soul in your connection, like a warm breeze. And now allow that love to go to those who are not in your connection, those you don't know, to places you've never been. and realize that the power in this experience of love transforms everything it touches. It dissolved just like jealousy, fear, sorrow. It's this sweet remedy for all the things that break our heart. And then when the moment's right, begin to bring your attention back to yourself. Back to the place behind the eyes. But knowing that you don't need to lose that feeling of love, that inner experience, because that's your natural property. Om Shanti. So it was lovely to be with you. Have a beautiful evening, beautiful day tomorrow.
Thank you, Sister Judy. Thank you, everybody. And just a reminder, this is live stream. So if you want to listen to the recording, please feel free to go to Facebook or YouTube and you can see the recording again. Thank you. We'll see you again.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sister.
sister.
Have a good night, everyone.